What's up, everybody? I haven't been keeping to my schedule. It's not really a big surprise with the owning a business and trying to get it up off the ground. So we're going to be touch and go here for a little bit, but I do have a schedule and I intend on keeping it eventually. So that's what I've been doing the last couple days. It's been a lot of work trying to get this whole thing assembled and then trying to get it to take off. We're looking at a couple of contracts, and that it's a little stressful. Just a little bit. One might say I haven't slept the best, but it's okay. And I just realized my AC is on, but it's gonna be on, so I apologize if you kind of hear that in the audio, but it's like 1,000,000,000 degrees outside. It's not really an exaggeration, things are melting. So, in keeping with the philosophy theme that I wasn't able to keep up with, I was going to post a little bit about my, I suppose, ideals, but we're not going to go with that. I think it would be better to build a frame or a stronger foundation for who I am. And recently, the Game Grumps did a personality test, and it kind of reminded me of that is an important thing to do, to kind of know who you're watching. So, I've done this test twice. I'm going to do it again. And the interesting thing is I got INFJ the first time. And, was it ENTJ? Yeah, ENTJ the second time. So, I was advocate and commander. That was pretty much split down the middle. I am almost equally introverted as I am extroverted, and I think that's very on point. And I am equally as thinking as I am feeling. Also on point. So it's kind of comes down to almost how I feel that day. And it ties very well into my philosophy of, was it King Within, Sage Without. So, without too much further, I'm going to begin the test, and I would love if I could capture that as I do it. Can't do it, so we're gonna just base our picture off the cam here, and I'll just read them all out. You find it difficult to introduce yourself to other people. Strongly disagree. You often get so lost in thought that you ignore or forget your surroundings. Doesn't happen very often. I'm very observant, and even if I do, I get pulled out of it very easily. So we're gonna go with small agree. You try to respond to your emails as soon as possible and cannot stand a messy inbox. Absolutely agree. I am very quick to respond to emails. You find it easy to stay relaxed when there is some pressure. Some pressure? Absolutely. I am remarkable at handling pressure. It's when there's pressure on all sides, when I feel like I don't have an escape, I don't relax. So I'm going to say strongly agree. You do not usually initiate conversations. Strongly disagree. I'm very good at initiating conversations, but, I also don't go out of my way too often to do so. So I'm going to dial that back to just agree. You rarely do something out of sheer curiosity. Yeah, it's almost always premeditated, so I'm gonna go with disagree. You feel superior to other people. I'm gonna go small agree, and it isn't because I feel superior in that I really feel better, that I'm better than other people. I have purposely made choices in my life that have kept me above water. And not always without help, but I've never intentionally made a choice, like say drugs or something like that, that plunged me so far that I couldn't crawl out myself. And this is a tough one because some people feel like they need to for their really tough situations, and I too have been through tough situations, so I think actually I'm going to say neutral on that one because it's really tough. Being organized is more important than you being adaptable. Being organized is very important, but I think adaptable is better. Are we crooked? Just a touch, it looks like. There we go. Whatever. I am a very, I'm not gonna say spontaneous, but, I adapt very quickly to things, and I learn very quickly. So, I love being organized, and, but I have to say, when I take a test, I take it backwards. When I study for a test, I skim everything. I don't study anything in particular. I try and let as much go to the diffuse memory as possible, and then I try to recall as much as possible. Whatever I don't recall, I go back to the source, skim it again, refresh the memory, rinse and repeat. Eventually it sticks a lot better than trying to cram it all at once. You are highly motivated and energetic. Depends on the fucking day. I would say on the up and up, I small agree. I am not so energetic that I'm you know what, compared to the average person, I'm doing a lot of different things all at once, so I'm gonna move that up to just agree. But I'm not crazy bouncing all over the place all the time. I do sometimes get that way though. Winning a debate matters less to you than making sure no one gets upset. False. Truth matters a lot to me, and almost more than my feelings or the feelings of others, because it's the truth. Everyone will get around to it in the end. You often feel you have to justify yourself to other people. This was me when I was younger. A lot of the time, I felt I needed to explain myself. The only times now I feel I need to do that is if they really have the wrong idea of me. So I'm gonna go small agree. Your home and work environments are quite tidy. Agree when I feel like I have a home. If I don't feel like I have a home, I'm in boxes, which is still kind of tidy, I guess. You do not mind being the center of the attention. Absolutely not. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. In fact, usually, without trying, I end up commanding a room. If it's people coming to ask me for advice, or if it's me talking about a passion, usually it just seems to be contagious. It's not something I try to do on purpose. You consider yourself more practical than creative? Oh god, I used to be very creative. I still think I'm very creative, but I think I'm more on the practical side these days, so small agree. People can rarely upset you. Yeah, I would say pretty much an agree. Your travel plans are usually well thought out. They try to be well thought out, but then they don't go to plan, so I'm just gonna say agree. That's where the adaptable matters. It is often difficult for you to relate to other people's feelings. It used to be, so I'm gonna go small agree. Your mood can change very quickly. Yes. So, but I try to bring it back. And I'm gonna say, agree. In discussion, truth should be more important than other sensitivities. Absolutely. There's very rare occasions where I believe that to be, not to be the case, so strong agree. You rarely worry about how your actions affect other people. That, however, is strongly disagree. I think about that all the time. Your work style is closer to random energy spikes than methodical approaches. False. Just disagree. You are often envious of others. Small true. Because I feel like I have inside what a lot of people do not. But I also don't feel like I fit my current situation at all, present or past. So I'm trying to grow into that. An interesting book or video game is often better than a social event. Strong agree. Being able to develop a plan and stick to it is the most important part of every project. agree. If a small agree, because that plan might need to change, but everyone needs to be focused and coherent. You rarely get carried away by fantasies and ideas. Strong disagree. Well, not strong. Just disagree. I've always been someone who thought that life could always be better than it always has been for me, despite what everyone says. And I just thought that, for the most part, whenever someone said it to me, they made their own bed, and it's not where I'm choosing to lay. So, you often find yourself lost in thought when you are walking in nature. Absolutely. I try to be very present and observe nature, but nature's serene surroundings generally helps me think. If someone does not respond to your email quickly, you start worrying if you said something wrong. Small agree. I'll often reread the email to make sure I didn't, and then that'll help calm me, and I'll be able to wait for a while. As a parent, you would rather see your child grow up kind than smart. I'm gonna hit a neutral there. I would love my kid to be smart because I don't want a kind moron that gets walked all over. You do not let other people influence your actions. Strong agree. Even when it comes to close relationships, if I have a path, I'm going it. And I feel like everyone should sort of have those moments. When you sleep, your dreams tend to focus on real world and its events. Yeah, for the most part, they're oddly, even if they're not. I'm gonna say a small agree, because sometimes they can go really abstract, and even the messages of the real world ones are pretty abstract at times. It does not take you much time to start getting involved in social activities at a new workplace. Yeah, not much time at all. I strongly agree. You are more of a natural improviser than a careful planner. I'm gonna say small disagree. I plan things out to the T. There's points and then points to the points. So, but those are guidelines, and if I have to deviate from them, I do. Your emotions control you more than you control them. Strongly disagree. You enjoy going to social events that involve dress-up or role-play activities. Gonna be working at the Ren Fair soon, so strongly agree. You often spend time exploring unrealistic and impractical yet intriguing ideas. A strong disagree, because almost even if something's out there, I spin it to being practical, because unless I'm meditating, I don't think of impractical things that have no application anywhere. You would rather improvise than spend time coming up with a detailed plan. I just said how much I like planning, but once the plan's done, I don't sit there and add more to it. When the plan's done, it's time to improvise from there. So, I'm just gonna say small agree. You're a relatively reserved and quiet person. Just disagree. If you had a business, you would find it very difficult to fire loyal but underperforming employees. Disagree. It would suck, and I would give them, what I think is fair for loyalty. But if they're underperforming and they're costing, they'll get the disciplinary actions, they'll get the warnings. They have to, for the betterment of the whole company. You often contemplate the reasons for human existence. Not really. Strong disagree. Logic is usually more important than heart when it comes to making important decisions. I believe in balance for that. But I'm going to lean more towards logic, because logic needs to be tempered by the heart, but the heart can't steer the wheel, in my opinion. So we'll go just agree. Keeping your options open is more important than having a to-do list. Strong disagree. If your friend is sad about, or not strong, small disagree. If your friend is sad about something, you are likely to offer emotional support, then suggest ways to deal with the problem. Strong disagree. I almost always offer solutions, and because I'm already there listening for the emotional support. You rarely feel insecure. Agree. You have no difficulties coming up with a personal timetable and sticking to it. Well, look at here. Can't seem to keep to my posting schedule, so we're gonna say disagree, but I'm also really sticking up with my job, so I'm just gonna say small agree. It's a balancing act. Being right is more important than being cooperative when it comes to teamwork. False. We're going to go just disagree there. Everyone likes being right, but teamwork needs to be fluid. You think everyone's views should be respected regardless of whether they're supported by facts or not. Small disagree. They can be respected, they can be listened to, but whenever I hear an argument that isn't supported by anything other than I feel this way, it's really hard for me to get behind that. I'll start probing about why they feel this way, where the roots of these answers come from, because there's usually more hard facts than that. And we eventually get to the facts. And when we get to the facts, we eventually get to resolution. If your entire argument is based off feel, my only response is feel, and that's the end of the argument right there. It's just separate differences. We feel this way. It doesn't solve anything. You feel more energetic after spending time with a group of people. Yes, sometimes. Depends on the activity. You frequently misplace your things. Disagree. I almost always know where things are. You see yourself as emotionally stable. Yes. Not when I was younger, by a long shot. Your mind is always buzzing with unexplored ideas and plans. Absolutely. You would not call yourself a dreamer. Strong disagree. You usually find it hard to relax when talking in front of many people. Disagree. I can usually be pretty relaxed. Generally speaking, you rely more on your experience than your imagination. Small agree. Yes. You worry too much about what other people think. Small disagree. If the room is full, you stay close to the walls, avoiding the center. It depends on where I'm at. You take me to something I'm passionate about, I'll be at the center. You take me to something I'm not passionate about, I'll be closer to the walls. You take me to a gun convention, for example, I'll be near the exit. Not that I'm against guns, it's just... You have a tendency to procrastinate until there is not enough time to do everything. Disagree. You feel very anxious in stressful situations. Small disagree. You believe that it is more rewarding to be liked by others than to be powerful. Small agree. Because if you're... No, just strong agree. If you're liked by others, you are powerful. You have always been interested in unconventional and ambiguous things. Strong agree. You often take initiative in social situations. Agree. Yep. There we are. Your personality type is Commander, ENTJ-A. Today we are not so split down the middle. We are way more extroverted. But my energy is almost split at 56%. Thinking and feeling, once again, 51 to 49%. And judging, way better than prospecting. Assertive more than turbulent. So we'll start reading about this. Your time is limited, so don't waste living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. and most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They already know, they somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Steve Jobs. Commanders are natural born leaders. People with this personality type embody the gifts of charisma and confidence, and project authority in a way that draws crowds together behind a common goal. However, commanders are also characterized by a ruthless level of rationality, using their drive, determination, and sharp minds to achieve whatever end they've put to themselves. Perhaps it is best that they make up only 3% of the population, lest they overwhelm the more timid and sensitive personality types that make up the rest of the world, but we have commanders to thank for many of the businesses and institutions we take for granted every day. Happiness lies in the joy of achievement. If there's anything commanders love, it's a good challenge, big or small. They firmly believe that given enough time and resources, they can achieve any goal. Does this kind of sound like what I was already saying? What did I say? I said, all of my dreams, anything that I think about that's impractical, I immediately start steering towards trying to make it practical and trying to make it happen. This quality makes people with the commander personality type brilliant entrepreneurs, and their ability to think strategically and hold long-term focus while executing each step of their plan with determination and precision makes them powerful business leaders. This determination is often a self-fulfilling prophecy, as they push towards their goals with sheer willpower, where others might give up and move on. This YouTube channel, for instance, where I've had to put it down repeatedly because of technology issues, financial issues, and sometimes just personal issues. So here we are again, back in the swing of things. And also, personally, as much as I feel great about being a commander, I also love the advocate side that I had originally. The first time I took it, that's what I got. And it really seems like the more I focus on this business that I've started, the more that I've focused on strengthening my life, the more I'm becoming more like the commander, and which has its ups and downs. But one of the things I loved about this channel is that it keeps me being creative and holds me responsible for being creative. And yeah, I don't want to lose that side. I don't want to don the suit and briefcase, and that's who I am. I really would much rather just be me. And if being me is something split between advocate and commander, I'm happy with that. At the negotiating table, be it in a corporate environment or buying a car, commanders are dominant, relentless, and unforgiving. This isn't because they're cold-hearted or vicious per se. It's more that commander personalities genuinely enjoy the challenge, the battle of wits, and the repartee that comes from this environment. And if the other side can't keep up, that's no reason for them to fold. The underlying thought running through the commander mind might be something like, I don't care if you call me an insensitive bastard, as long as I remain an efficient bastard. Kind of. If there's anyone commanders respect, it's someone who will stand up to them intellectually, who is able to act with precision and quality equal to their own. Commander personalities have a particular skill in recognizing the talents of others, and this helps them build their team building efforts, or both in their team building efforts, since no one, no matter how brilliant, can do everything alone. Actually, delegation is probably one of the biggest traits of leadership that I've found, and to keep commanders from displaying too much arrogance and condescension. However, they have a particular skill in calling out other people's failures with a chilling degree of insensitivity. And this is where commanders really start to run into trouble. Kind of. I've really tried to temper that throughout the years, but I've noticed that sometimes slowly bringing someone's fault to light isn't enough for them to make any sort of change. And I have seen some success really shaking a person up to the point where they realize you're right, and this is an undeniable part of me, and I must preface this with, they come to me for help, and they really want an answer. They're looking for help. They can't find it themselves, and that's what I do sometimes. Is I say, here it is. and I set it before them, and I say, usually, that you have to take it by the root. So, some things you can't be too sensitive about, and especially if you cut to the quick, if you cut to the root of an issue, it doesn't grow back like a weed. Emotional expression isn't strong suit of any analyst type, but the commander's distance from their emotions is especially public, and felt directly by a much broader swath of people. This is why I love balancing it with advocate. Especially in a professional environment, commanders will simply crush the sensitivities of those they view as inefficient, incompetent, or lazy. To people with the commander personality type, emotional displays are displays of weakness, and it's easy to make enemies with this approach. Commanders will do well to remember they absolutely depend on having a functioning team, not just to achieve their goals, but for validation and feedback as well, something that commanders are curiously very sensitive to. Yeah, no. Feedback is important, obviously. And I suppose they say curious because if you have a sensitivity or an insensitivity to these things, it's not curious that you want feedback because you know of your deficiencies, so you want feedback to try and build upon it, even if it's not through your own means and through someone else's. Commanders are true powerhouses, and they cultivate an image of being larger than life, and often they are. They need to remember, though, their stature comes from not just from their own actions, but from the actions of the team that props them up. And that it's important to recognize their contributions, talents, and needs, especially from an emotional perspective of their support network. This is building beautifully into what I wanted to originally talk about with my philosophy part of my channel. And that's why I wanted to start with this, is because it really does help build a ground-up view. Even if they have to adopt a fake-it-till-you-make-it mentality, if commanders are able to combine the emotionally healthy focus alongside their many strengths, they'll be rewarded with deep, satisfying relationships and challenging victories that they can handle. So, Steve Jobs, Gordon Ramsay, Harrison Ford, Margaret Thatcher, Whoopi Goldberg, Jim Carrey, Franklin D. Roosevelt, David Petraeus, Tony Soprano, David Palmer, Malcolm Merlin from Arrow, haven't seen that, Mary Talbot from Downton Abbey, Francis J. Underwood from House of Cards, let's see, River Tam from Firefly, interesting, but she had memory issues. So strengths and weaknesses, even though it seems like in the description we already know. Strengths: efficiency, energetic, self-confident, strong-willed, strategic, charismatic, inspiring. I'm not going to go into the details of those. Weaknesses: stubborn and dominant. This is why I like to be flexible and adaptable, to try and overcome that. Intolerant, my way or the highway. It's very hard for me to know if there's an area in my life that I should not budge on, or an area where I must sway a bit. And generally, that's what networking is really good for. I'll bounce ideas off of either my friends, my co-owners, anyone really close that I value their opinion. I'll bounce it off them, see what they think, and it usually helps getting that perspective, because usually you can see someone else's, you can see their end better than they can see their own. Impatient, I don't view that so much as a weakness. I like that quality, impatience. It moves things forward. Arrogant, I can see that. Anytime arrogance, or anytime something isn't backed up with ability, it becomes arrogance instead of confidence. Poor handling of emotions, it can be. You definitely need a sensitive hand. Cold and ruthless, yes, but also sometimes that is necessary. Relationships, We cannot succeed unless when we choose wisely. Some of these, they're very heavily dependent on how you feel about your life in a given moment. These almost remind me of horoscopes. At any given time, you could probably read any of these personalities and find traits that align with yours. Same with horoscopes. When I was young, I loved the occult. I still even read about it for fun. And for myself, October 20th is Libra, but depending on how in-depth with the star chart you get, it's considered to be cusp with Scorpio. So, I find it personally very interesting that Libra, which is often on the fence about everything, I'm on the fence not just about being Libra, but also being about Scorpio. And I'm also teetering from advocate to commander. I used to hate that about myself because I felt like I didn't know who I was. But now I find it as a strength. Not that I'm flighty, and I sometimes can be because my interests, I spearhead the ever-living hell out of them until I learn enough that I'm... when you learn something, you get so much over your head that you realize, I know enough to know I know nothing. I like to get just a little bit further, and not say that I know everything about a topic, but to know that I can answer